Hey, I'm Scott, and I'm an American in Bangkok. Today, we're going to talk about Thailand needing a better COVID 19 strategy if they want tourists to return. This is an article that came from the South China Morning Post. There was a YouGov poll of Thai respondents at the beginning of the year, and 83% of the people polled were willing to be vaccinated. Now, that number has fallen to 63% as of May, and then it's gone back up to 70%. But another poll showed that 57% of the respondents believe the vaccines offered by the government would help develop immunity against COVID-19 and its effects, with 59% really worried about the side effects. There's around 20,000 cases per day, new daily infections. And this last wave, and along with all the lockdowns, have really caused a lot of doubt about the feasibility of the Phuket sandbox and the Samui Plus, and I forget what the one in Pattaya is called. It's like, Pattaya Open Now or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but none of these have been what could be considered successful. I mean, I don't want to piss in anybody's campfire, but the bottom line is that so far these have not been successful. You can't really place the blame on anybody but maybe the government, who, if they had purchased plenty of vaccines in the very beginning, maybe this would have alleviated some of the problems that are occurring right now. Vaccine hesitancy comes in part from uncertainty over the effectiveness of Sinovac, one of the two main vaccines distributed in Thailand, leading many to question the Thai government's decision to buy more Sinovac vaccines. Yeah, I don't get it, and I didn't want it. I wanted AstraZeneca, but I got Sinovac. As of August 3rd, Phuket has shut down all domestic travel to and from the island due to the rising number of mainly Delta variant COVID-19 cases in Thailand. I read that somewhere around 80% of the cases in Thailand are now the Delta variant, which means even though I've been vaccinated twice, I still run a pretty high risk of contracting this Delta variant. In Thailand, public dissatisfaction over the slow vaccinated rollout and vaccine supply delays persist. Many feel the government was short-sighted in not securing more vaccines from more sources before the latest outbreak. This is something, let me just say, this is something that is a recurring theme. In the media, if you talk to the Thai on the street, this is what everybody is saying. What happened? Why didn't they do it? And now look at us and what's happening here. And there's a lot of upset people. This lack of preparation has delayed the resumption of local businesses and livelihoods, particularly in the tourist-dependent economies of Phuket, Koh Samui, and other places. The government faces the twin challenges of convincing people that the Sinovac and the locally made AstraZeneca vaccines are safe and effective, while working to procure more vaccines before the next COVID-19 wave. Listen, if they prevent people from dying, that's one thing. I have my doubts either way. I don't know what to believe about Sinovac and also about AstraZeneca. Hopefully they work, and that's all I can say. I'm placing a lot of faith in the government and in these vaccines, and I don't usually place that much faith in anybody. Mass vaccination is crucial because the Thai economy is highly dependent on tourism. With no herd immunity in sight, the government can hardly assure the world that Thailand is safe to visit. Hastily reopening more provinces via the sandbox scheme will only hamper efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19. Well, that's for sure. I don't understand why people want to come here in the middle of a pandemic when it's such a hassle to get here, And then there's a chance that if you've been vaccinated with one of these two vaccines, that you're not safe at all. Listen, you're going to have to take a chance at some point, and if you're in one of those high-risk groups, it's probably not a good idea to take a chance. As vaccine outrage mounts, Thailand's leaders go into attack mode. The government is reportedly considering booster shots from different vaccine makers in response to the more contagious Delta variant. It is also looking at buying different and more effective vaccines such as Moderna and plans to order 20 million Pfizer BioNTech doses to be delivered by the end of the year. Well, they better get it in gear. I thought this was already done, but maybe the contract was signed, but they haven't put anything forward. I don't know. But even with better or more desirable vaccines on the way, Thai nationals cannot afford to wait and get vaccinated. This is because Thailand's public health and economic well-being are tied together. Reaching herd immunity as soon as possible should remain the priority. The government must continue to push its vaccination program. I will say this. I got the Sinovac, which I didn't want, but regardless, when I went in the first time, it was very, very busy, and they were very, very good, and they got me in and out of the place in like an hour. And 30 minutes of that was spent sitting there making sure that I was okay before I was allowed to leave. So they had their act together. When I went back the second time, there weren't nearly as many people. Why, I don't know. Maybe it was just a timing thing. But I will say again, they had their act together, and I know several people who have went to Bangsu and to other hospitals, and they have all said the same thing. So once they have the vaccines, it's working like clockwork for the most part. The problem is making sure that there are enough vaccines for everyone and keeping that supply chain flowing. Vaccine hesitancy and government disorganization are Thailand's public health tumors. If these are not removed, the country should be pessimistic about the future of any tourism sandbox scheme. Well, I was pessimistic about this Phuket sandbox right from the get-go. I didn't think it was going to work. And they came out and said, and nobody's talking about this, but the government said, we're going to have 500,000 domestic tourists, and we're going to have 129 foreign visitors to the country. Now, I think they had something like 15,000 in July, which obviously if you multiply that times 3, they're far short of 129,000. I have no idea how many domestic tourists, but there is no domestic tourism allowed for the time being, but I highly doubt that they're going to hit 500,000 domestic tourists. I think they'll be lucky to get 10% of that, maybe 5%. I don't really know, but I can tell you it's not 500,000. And nobody's talking about that. You never see that in the news. I don't know why, but they came out with that. That was their own estimate. 500,000 domestic tourists, 129,000 foreign tourists. And from the people who came in to Phuket, some of those 15,000, they are people who live in the country already, so they are not tourists. So who knows what the real numbers are. But anyway, it would be nice to see something work, because Thailand and Thai people could certainly use some good news as opposed to what's been happening day after day after day. We need some good news here. Anyway, that's all I have. Until next time, I'm Scott. I'm an American in Bangkok. Chok di leo jerken mai. Just good luck. See you later. Do me a favor and leave a thumbs up if you could. If you haven't subscribed already, remember to subscribe. Thank you very much. Look down in the description box. You can find out how you can help support the channel, or you can just hit that join button right down below. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I will see you when I see you.